Are you ready to stop riding the emotional elevator of life? Are you ready to learn how to elevate your emotions that keep you psychologically traumatized or in an addictive behavior? You are in the right place. Here is your host, Sandee Byrd, trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach of the Emotional Elevator Show.
Well, welcome everyone. It's so good to be here today. Of course, I am Sandee Byrd. I am the host here on Emotional Elevator on Inspired Choices Network. Like I always say, if you're listening to me on any other platform and you want to get into a little bit of a conversation or discussion, come on over here on the Inspired Choices Network and join the chat room and we can answer questions. And also, please share, like, subscribe to my show so you get to see me live or listen to me right after it's put out there. So today's show, well, first let me go in. Who is this Sandee Byrd that you're watching right now? I am a coach. Now, I have two umbrellas in that, or I have an umbrella with different, well, however you want to say it. But I not only do personal coaching where I help you develop into the person you want to be in life, I am also a corporate wellness facilitator where I bring in fun and exciting new concepts into helping with my topic today, burnout, by inviting in creativity, fun, and joy into the workplace, which, if you watch my last show, that's exactly what that was on. And how I do that is I bring in Lego series play and laughter yoga, two concepts that get you into those inner child, get you into that creative side of yourself. And with the laughter, it kind of gets those happy hormones. So the retention rate can be higher, where you're going to retain your employees by inviting in fun, joy, and reducing burnout in your workforce. Teaching them techniques also while we're building and laughing and doing the three P's, promoting powerful positivity. It's also about inviting in all of that good stuff to get them motivated while at work and also get into the creative side and also how to produce those happy hormones. But I as a coach. So I have three programs out there, and it's all about getting into who you really are, letting go of the distractions of the outside world or the societal norms or what is expected of you, and really figure out who it is you are underneath of all of that. What are your values? What motivates you every day to get up? What are your strengths? What is your life purpose? And now working with clients on doing their life purpose is more about who you are. It doesn't mean you figure out the perfect job for you and go quit it. No, it's how you can incorporate who you are, your purpose in life into the job or career you have, or to figure out how to get to that place. Because sometimes we take on jobs or we go to school because it's what's expected of us. Or when we were a kid, we were told, you know what, you would be a great attorney because you love to argue, fight, and fuss. Well, you know what? That was what I was told because I was a debater. I was a great debater. I like to speak, but I am not big into the histories and reading. So I realized after a few years in college, this is really not, as I had to read and do a lot of history. So now at the second part of my life, it's realizing that coaching, helping others to get to this part in life. But it's all about who I am because you can reach out to me at sandeebird.com and we can get in a conversation. You can also see the different programs and packages that I offer because I have three out there right now, and it's all about unleashing your authentic self, thriving through that forgiveness, and find the empowerment within. All three areas, I think all of us at one point are struggling with in life. But anyway, let's get to the show today. Today's topic is all about burnt out. Recognize, recover, and reignite. So now I'll just give you the highlights of the show. Feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained, you're not alone. Burnout is more than just being tired. It's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion that can impact every area of your life. In this episode of Emotional Elevator, Sandee Byrd, the host, that's me, will uncover the signs of burnout, explore the areas of life that contribute to it, and discuss how to reclaim your energy and joy. From work pressures and caregiving to self imposed expectations, we'll identify the roots of burnout and how to manifest it and how it manifests in your life. I don't want you to manifest burnout. So that definitely was a faux pas on my part because nobody wants to manifest burnout. Tune in as I, Sandee, shares practical solutions like setting boundaries, prioritizing self care, and using techniques that mindfulness and laughter yoga, something I do, to restore balance. Whether you're experiencing burnout or supporting someone who is, in this episode, I will offer actionable insights to help you recover and reignite your passion for life. Let's transform burnout into a breakthrough together. So, that is what the show tonight is about. It's about burnout and how to recognize it. Because a lot of times we don't realize that we're tired, emotional, and physically, mentally, and we're just like, you know what, I'm just done. But we don't know what's creating it. And a lot of times it's not, when we think a lot about burnout, a lot of people think about jobs, but you can get burnt out in just being a caregiver. Moms, if you don't self care yourself, if you don't put on that face mask first, like the airplane says, you can be burnt out as a mom, especially if you have multiple children or even a special needs child or a very active child. You can experience burnout as a mom. Or if you are a daughter or a son who is a caregiver of a elder, you can be burnt out. Or even that job, you can be burnt out. The physical, you can be burnt out from working out. And that is a big one. That is a big one. I don't think people recognize that you can literally be burnt out because you are following along and you're working out every day and you're like, I got to do this so I can feel good. And then you stop feeling good and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym today. But if I don't go to the gym today, I'm not going to feel good. And then you go to the gym and you're still like, I don't know what it is. We need to take those moments almost in every, I'm going to say in everything in life. You've got to take that moment to refresh, set that boundary. I know a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but I get those good endorphins going when I go to the gym. But and the reason I'm bringing up the gym is because I have really witnessed someone who kind of went through the burnout with the gym. And I'm like, take a break. Oh, I can't. If I take a break, what, in a day, 2 days, maybe even a week, you're going to gain 50 pounds. And that's the reason you're going to the gym. Because that right there is the mindset's not right. If I don't go to the gym, I'm going to be this alter ego, or I'm going to be somebody that I'm striving so hard on not being. That can burn you out because there is an expectation you have on yourself with performance that is going to create the burnout. And if anyone listening to me has never been through a burnout, I'd love to know the secret. Please share your secret with me. Come on the show. We'll talk about it. Because at one point, if you have reached my golden age of 55 and you have never in your life experienced burnout, I would love to be in a conversation with you because I feel that we've all experienced some form of burnout, whether it's in our job, our relationship, our family life, maybe even a hobby or something we love to do, but we do it all the time that we get burnout. And a lot of times we don't realize our body is the one that alerts us to that burnout. when we get sick, when we've been working out so much and then all of a sudden we tear something one day or we just start getting very ill. Sometimes that's from burnout, but we don't recognize it because we're not attuned to it, to burnout. So that is starting to recognize burnout when you have no desire to get up and go, whether it be work, whether it be the gym, whether it be, oh my gosh, my child's crying again and I just want to sit here and scream. That's when it does take sometimes a village to raise a child because you need to have those support systems. You need to be able to say, I need a moment, and setting a boundary that I need a moment. And a lot of people do that when it comes to work. See, I've been one of those in corporate America that felt like the only way to be recognized is by overdoing, overcompensating. And that is something I had to work on within myself. And then I would see people who worked the 8 hours and get a promotion. I'm like, wait a minute, they're not working harder than me. They're not even working more than me. It's because they showed the restraint, they showed the clear cut boundaries, and they showed the delegation. And that is another big word in life is that when you are starting to feel like overwhelmed, maybe in your marriage or your relationship, if you, excuse me, if you have children, if you are taking care of an elder at work, is learning to delegate. There's always someone there that can help you no matter what. And I've recently heard it from a client who went from being in an office to now being at home in her office. And she never, when she was in the office, oh, I could always delegate because, such and such, the other secretary was near me. But it doesn't matter. You're still working in that same environment, even though everyone's mobile and not stationary at the office. There's still someone that you can reach out to. The same person that maybe sat a cubicle or two cubicles over from you is still part of the collective for you to kind of say, hey, I need a little help with this. Or I've been overwhelmed. Can you maybe help me with this? Before it is too late and then we're sick or we're just drained because that's the part of burnout. I can tell you, I've talked to two clients of mine, and I did it before where it got to the point where I was so burnt out that I turned around, no, I quit. And then I'm like, if you're not watching me, I'm kind of looking behind me like, okay, where did that come from? Who said it? Oh, how can I take this back? And at that point, you can't take it back. But it's by setting that strong boundary. And it's not just with the company, it's with yourself. It's having those moments with yourself. Why do I feel I need to work 90 hours a week instead of 40 like everybody else? What is it I'm trying to prove within myself? And that's why, even if I am not the coach for you, I think it's imperative to have support systems out there. And I'm not saying just coaches, but having support systems out there to talk things out with. There is so many meetup groups and support systems out there that Eventbrite, Meetup, all these different groups out there that you could probably Google burnt out, who to talk to about being burnt out or something, that you could find a support system for yourself because sometimes it is hard for us to experience it within ourselves. That sometimes we need that person to talk to and say, I don't know what to do, but this is what I'm going through. And it's talking about it. but it's recognizing it, that why am I not motivated anymore? Why don't I have that want to get up and go? Why is it when I think about going to work or this, I'm going, "Oh." Why is it when I leave work and I'm coming home to the kids or my husband or my roommate and I'm like, oh, because we've not set those boundaries and we've not had those conversations. We've not asked for maybe help or maybe said, you know what? I am tired. If it's a roommate, I was one of those. I was a people pleaser where I would just clean and then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go back because I've got to clean up because I didn't set those healthy boundaries. I didn't set expectations for us. We were both paying exactly the same. So why am I doing so much more? Because I didn't set that expectation. I didn't delegate. Look, I'll do this week. We'll do that way. And that's what it's all about. It's the same thing when you have children and they can learn to fold clothes or something. Start delegating that responsibility and learn to, in a sense, stand up for yourself. But it is time for our first break today, tonight. Sorry. And we're going to go on that break. But like I said, if you want to reach out to me or if you're interested about what I have to offer, you can reach me at sandeebyrd.com. You can also read me. You can also reach me on all social media platforms at Sandee Byrd, but I'll tell you, sometimes I'm not as engaged because I talk a lot about disengaging and working on yourself by not comparing to others. So you can reach out to me on social media, but you can also send me a nice email at sandy@emotionalelevator.com or my business email, sandeebirdcoach@gmail.com. And we can get on a connection conversation. And if you're feeling burnt out, if you just want to say, hey, am I burnt out or where am I burnt out? Let's get on that call. But it's time for us to go on our first break. And of course, you are listening to me, Sandee Byrd, on Emotional Elevator, on the Inspired Choices Network, or any other many platforms out there. So thank you.
Are you living a life of psychological trauma or suffering from an addiction? Are you ready to learn new techniques to elevate your emotions without sustaining or obtaining them from substances that are not good for your mind or body? Then continue to tune into Emotional Elevator with trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach, Sandee Byrd, where you will learn techniques to elevate your emotions that don't require a magic pill, food, or impulsive behavior. Listen to Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific, on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd. To participate in this program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to sandy@emotionalelevator.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back. Of course, you are watching, listening to Sandee Byrd on Emotional Elevator on the Inspired Choices Network or on any podcast, live streaming that you tune into. But like I always say, please like and subscribe. Or if this is a topic that you're like, you know what? I think my friend Sally has been going through this. Have them tune into this They can always reach out to me. A connection call is always free for anyone. I also, if you do check me out, if you do check me out, check me out. If you do go on any of my social media platforms, I'm always running special programs where it's a 4-week class. It's usually a self class. And that's how you can get to know who I am as a coach because I challenge people. And I think yes, I did. Matter of fact, my last show on fun and joy, reclaiming that in your life, I talked about some of the challenges. And it's these type of challenges and getting into yourself and learning who you are that helps with the burnouts. Because when we cannot delegate, set healthy boundaries, even self-care for ourselves, we are going to burn out in life. There is so much expectations out there on us to succeed in everything, succeed in our jobs, or if you are a great stay-at-home mom or you're taking care of an elder, we are expected to be these super women or super men. I'm not going to be exclusive because my first husband at one point was the stay-at-home dad. So it is. And I know there was times where there was burnout because I did work some long hours because I was responsible. But it was also that I was getting burnt out because I was working long hours. I wasn't setting those boundaries. And that's why boundaries are very important. It's not just about having boundaries with friends or family to protect who we are. It's about having those boundaries so we don't get burnt out. So we don't overextend ourselves to the point we're not even able to extend to our own selves. And it's realizing, and that's why having that topic about bringing fun and joy back into your life, that's what this is about too. You've got to take the moments to even have those moments of joy. Because if you are not motivated at what you're doing, you're either burnt out or you are just working a job for that paycheck and it is not what you're it doesn't incorporate your life's purpose or it's not the values you have within yourself. And that's why all of this is so important to self-care. Do things for yourself. And I love how people always say, "Yeah, but I do my job is always so demanding." Is it so demanding? Or are you making it demanding? Because there was one thing that I prided myself. I've always been in leadership. I've always been in management since before time. And everyone used to always say to me, "Why do you love it so much?" Because I delegated a lot. There is nothing wrong with delegating responsibilities. Nothing wrong with that. And I always like to groom people, and that's why I was a corporate trainer and I wrote many corporate manuals because I love that delegation. And I even did it in life. And my, as I've mentioned, even children, when we can delegate some responsibility to them instead of doing it all and being that parent that wants to do it all, oh, because they'll never do it the way I want it done. By delegating some of that responsibility to them, you're teaching them a little bit of independence, a little bit of pride within themselves. Because here's the thing that creates the burnout when we want to take on everything. And if you're not watching me, I'm like pulling. We're taking on so much that we can't, we're just bearing it on ourselves. We're expecting to be seen and validated when we're not being seen and validated because we've buried ourselves. We're just putting piles on us. And that's what this is about. And how to, if you recognize someone's going through burnout because depression or whatever depression, you see it just physically. You can see someone who's burning out physically, mentally, emotionally, is just, hey, I'm gonna fold the clothes tonight. If you're with a roommate or a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, why don't let's not make dinner tonight. Why don't you just sit here, pour them a glass of wine, make them a cup of tea. If they're really going through depression, pouring them a glass of wine is not it. But make them a warm cup of tea, warm cup of milk, and say, you know what? I'm going to run out. I'm going to grab dinner. And if you see it, allow them that freedom, allow them that time to really care for themselves. And don't be offended when someone who's going through that burnout is like, you can't do anything to help me. Just be there for them, because that is one of the biggest lessons too. And some of the ways, like I've already said in describing this, meditation, laughter yoga. My biggest things that I tell people all the time when you're feeling overwhelmed with work, home, or anything, 5-minute dance party is the ultimate thing. Or go out at your car during a break, a 15-minute break, and put the music on and sing in your car. There's nothing wrong with that. That is a release. That is bringing those happy hormones in. Saying, I need a minute is better than getting to the point where you're saying, I quit. Because sometimes we quit those great jobs, not because we want to, but because we haven't delegated or stood up for ourselves or set those boundaries. And then sometimes it's because that is not where we want to be. It does not align with who we are. That also. But if you have been at a job and you're like, this is the best place in the world, this is like Disney World, and then all of a sudden you're like, I hate it, that could be burnout. Being an entrepreneur, I've experienced burnout where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just chasing, 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 instead of just sitting back and going, okay, it's going to come to me. That you can experience burnout. People who think you can't burn out being a mom, a child of someone you're caring for, an elder, you can. It's realizing why. Burnout with, like I said, gym. A lot of people call them gym rats because they always got to be at the gym. And if you're always one of those people who feel so inclined to watch every morsel you put in your body, and then one day you just you eat everything around you, that's because you're experiencing a level of burnout. When we're holding so tight onto the rings of life and those expectations and everything, you are going to experience a burnout. When we decide, you know what, I can have that ice cream, I can have that slice of cake, or I can eat. Well, I don't even know what to say. I can eat that filet mignon unless you have a meat allergy or a chicken allergy or an allergy or a seafood allergy. That's different. But if it's all about, I can't do that thing, sometimes that creates an emotional burnout with yourself. I have witnessed, you can burn out from anything. I've seen runners have a burnout and end up with injuries within their bodies because they don't want to say, oh, I've been doing this and it brings me joy. And then that moment when it stops bringing you joy can create burnout within yourself. And how do we stop having burnout is, like I say, take those moments to self-care. Take that moment to say, I can have a break from this. I remember many times is being on vacations with people who feel they can't put the phone down because they might miss something. And then they go back and go, "Ugh, I don't even know why I went on vacation. I don't feel like I went on vacation." And I want to be the one to say, if you would lock the phone or put the phone aside, you wouldn't be burnt out from a vacation that you never were able to enjoy because you're so tuned in. You're not setting boundaries with yourself. You're not, it's that perfectionism within you sometimes that will end up creating that burnout because we're so afraid someone might do something better. You know what? If they do something better than you, that is okay. How many people out there have really, and if you have, you can reach out to me. I'd love to be in a conversation to open this up. But I've never lost a job because somebody has done something better than me. Never lost a job, but I've never lost a job or never been looked over from a promotion because someone's done something that much better than me. It's because I haven't seen the best in myself. And I've not been with many other people in the same position. And then someone comes up with this brilliant idea and they go, you know what? You're not going to be doing that position anymore. No, we see that as a negative instead of seeing it as that's a win. That's a win for them. And it's a win for us because you know what? They might have made my load lighter or something a lot easier. But we criticize ourselves for not coming up with that. And that starts to create that burnout within us. So it is time for our second break today. Of course, you're listening to me or watching me, Sandee Byrd, on Emotional Elevator. And I'm talking all about today about burnout and how you've got to care for yourself. But like I always say, if any of this resonates to you, you can go to sandeebyrd.com, get on a connection call with me, see what I have to offer. Or if you want, like I say, sometimes I'm not as a parent or not as a parent as on social media, but you can still reach out to me there or send me an email at sandeebirdcoach@gmail.com. But we're going to get to that break, and thank you for watching me tonight.
Are you living a life of psychological trauma or suffering from an addiction? Are you ready to learn new techniques to elevate your emotions without sustaining or obtaining them from substances that are not good for your mind or body? Then continue to tune into Emotional Elevator with trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach, Sandee Byrd, where you will learn techniques to elevate your emotions that don't require a magic pill, food, or impulsive behavior. Listen to Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific, on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd. To participate in this program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to sandy@emotionalelevator.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back. Thank you for watching. I am Sandee Byrd. I am the host here on Emotional Elevator on Inspired Choices Network, or maybe on many of the other platforms out there. And like I always say, if you want to have some conversation with me, you can come right over here to the chat room and ask questions. But if you are watching or listening to me on any other platforms, please like and subscribe. If any of the topics I talk about, if you want to pass along to someone, please do. If you would even like to have a conversation with me, all connection conversations are always free. You can go to sandeebyrd.com and we can get on a conversation call. You can check out all of my programs out there. If you follow me on social media, you will see when I'm running some of my classes, one of which is usually a self class. But as I've been talking about burnout and how to recognize burnout, it's when you have that feeling you're not motivated, when you're a parent or a partner or a roommate, and you have that feeling when you're on your way home or when you get up in the morning and you're like, it's almost Friday, it's almost Friday, it's almost Friday, it's almost Friday. I'm just doing this for the paycheck. You can very well be experiencing burnout. And what are the steps you can take is by doing moments of joy, setting those boundaries, taking a moment and saying, I need a moment, celebrating moments, celebrating those wins, being grateful for the progress and not the perfection. Just being aware. But a lot of it's about taking self care and asking for help, delegating responsibilities. It is something that I am very it was an unfortunate situation for my children to learn at a very young age how to help around the house because their father came home disabled and they knew I had to work, but it taught them responsibilities at a young age. They still had their childhood, but that still we had to delegate responsibilities to them. Look, your dad's going to need help getting things from top shelves, so I'm going to need y'all to climb and grab it. They were young and smaller, but it gave them that. It gave them the sense of they weren't getting. Mom did experience burnouts. I'm not going to say she didn't, but it also helped me not to come home every night burnt out because I had to do all these things. And what helped through that was that I delegated. And some of it was, I'm going to need your help. And some of it was setting up those boundaries and setting boundaries at work. And a lot of us have that perfectionism trait, trauma. I call it now trauma, um, where we feel like we've got to overexert ourselves to prove our worth to ourselves, to prove our value when you don't. Because there's nothing worse than experiencing this burnout within yourself, because then you don't. If you are already feeling self loathing of worthiness, of value, of confidence, and then you go when you experience burnout, all you've done is compiled that feeling of, oh, I'm not worth it. Nope, nobody does value. But when you can celebrate the progress and not the perfectionism, and when you can set those boundaries, and when you can just self care for yourself, you will experience a whole different level of realizing that your worth comes from you and setting that boundary, celebrating those little wins, and doing that self care. And self care does not mean that I went and got a massage. If that is part of bringing joy and happiness, it made me feel so good. And I left work early to go do that. And then I'm going to go take a walk in the park and I'm going to take myself out to dinner. Then, yes, you self cared. But if you're going and saying, I just went to get a massage because I'm so tense, and you're not doing something else and changing your mindset, that really isn't that self-care. You might be just going in to get that massage because your body feels tense, but if you're not changing anything else and saying no and delegating, then you're not caring for yourself. But it's also finding those moments of joy within your day. If it means, like I've already started talking about, that 5 minute dance party with yourself, that 5 minutes of good job to yourself, the laughing, the, if it means going in a closet, I can say I've done that where I've gone in a closet just to scream. Because that also, I've done scream therapy with people before, and that also can be such a release for yourself. Because sometimes that's the first step is to go, okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes to a dance party. I'm going to take 5 minutes, go in the broom closet and just scream into a rag. I'm going to go sing in my car for 5 minutes to the heaviest metal song. I'm going to do this because what you're doing is you're setting yourself up if you struggle with the boundaries. Because by taking 5 minutes and saying, I need a break, you're starting to set in boundaries and then say, you know what? I'm going to leave at 5 on Thursday. So I'm going to need Sally Sue or Johnny Joe to handle the phones from 5 until 6. If it's at home with a roommate, a spouse, a child, I'm going to need you to help me with folding the laundry. Or a lot of people get in roommate situations and then they're like, I'm never getting a roommate again. I'll work 3 jobs and I'm just not doing that. Because you never set up that boundaries and you never said, okay, you never sat down with that person and you got burnt out from that. When if we all took the initiative to sat down and set boundaries, and even in our relationships, more people end marriages and end relationships because of conflict because they've never set that boundary. They've never done the self-care for themselves. They basically got burnt out from a relationship. So think about that. How many relationships have you ended in your life? Friendships, love relationships. Sometimes you see your child calling. Oh, it's them. Nope, not taking the phone call. Because you've technically gotten into a burnout where you've not set a boundary, where you've not put yourself a little bit first, where you're waiting for the perfectionism and not just, wow, let's work on this. Let's invite some progress in to our relationship. And that's where burnt out comes from. But you've also got to care for yourself in that situation, a work situation, a caregiving situation, a a workout situation, a diet situation. I never like that word, so I don't know why I'm using it. It's just that situation. And think about this. This is something I preach to. A lot of people get burnt out on these journeys of creating a new lifestyle because they're not going in with, why am I doing this? The first thing they say is, I need to lose weight. But I want everyone to think about this. When you get burnt out from that, is whenever you talk about losing something, what is something in your life? And this is something I talk about with a lot of people on that journey because I've been on that journey. Think about the things in your life that you've lost, that you've wanted back so much. Now think about why the weight loss industry is one of the biggest, I call it scams, because if you continue to say loss, what happens when you lose? You gain a lot back, and you gain it back because I remember when I was a kid and I lost my favorite teddy bear and all I wanted was it back, or my best friend moved away and I lost them and I wanted them so back because they probably would still be my best friend till today. And then you're putting it into something in your mind. You can't, you've got to reprogram your mindset. And I don't know where I just went off on the tangent of weight loss, but people burn out from that, where they are on it and on it and on it on that journey. But anyway, it is time for our last break tonight. And thank you for joining. I am Sandee Byrd. I am the host here on Emotional Elevator. And if you're listening to me or watching me on any other platforms and you ever want to join the chat, just come over here to Inspired Choices Network and we will have a conversation.
Are you living a life of psychological trauma or suffering from an addiction? Are you ready to learn new techniques to elevate your emotions without sustaining or obtaining them from substances that are not good for your mind or body? Then continue to tune into Emotional Elevator with trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach, Sandee Byrd, where you will learn techniques to elevate your emotions that don't require a magic pill, food, or impulsive behavior. Listen to Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific, on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd. To participate in this program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to sandy@emotionalelevator.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I have been talking tonight about burnout and how to reignite so you're not burnt out, how to even discover burnout, and how to support somebody who's in burnout. And it's all about saying no, setting up boundaries, realizing that you are burning out when it comes to caregiving, relationship, work. It's all about the expectations that we put on ourselves. It's not necessarily about the expectations of, it is expectation of societal norm or the values that we've been given, or you should be this, it should be like this. Social media, we see the perfect family, so my family's got to be perfect. It's what we put on ourselves that we want to get to this perfectionism when we should just be celebrating the progress. And we need to start taking care of ourselves, because I'm going to put this out there because, of course, I've dealt with a lot of trauma and addiction, and I work with a lot of people who've gone through trauma and addiction. I'm a sideline coach on helping in that realm, being on call for certain groups for trauma and addiction. But at the same time, a lot of that stems from the addiction. Part of it is from not recognizing burnout and not asking for help when you need the help. We get burnt out in life because we don't ask for help. We get to the point where we don't see that it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to say no, it's okay to set a boundary. It's okay to delegate because we've not been raised in an environment where that is shown as healthy. And when we have those people pleasing skills, and when we have that feeling of if I say no, or if I set this boundary, if I don't do all this, then they might abandon me. That starts building on that burnt out. And when we already don't see our value and our worth, and then we go and we're working these jobs and we're just keep going and going and going and grinding and grinding and grinding, or in these relationships, grinding, and we don't take a moment to breathe and say, I need a moment, we get burnt out. And then what do? We walk away with probably one of the best relationships. We walk away from that job. Sometimes it's positive. I'm not saying sometimes that's negative, but think about it. How many times have you walked away thinking the grass is going to be greener on the other side, just to walk away again because the grass wasn't greener, just to walk away again and the grass wasn't greener? Because we're not willing to say, you know what? Let's work together. Let's figure out how to make this work. Let's share responsibility in this. And that's why I'm glad last week's show and this week's show kind of tie in together, because you've got to have those moments of joy and fun. Saying, I need a moment, there is nothing wrong, and practice it. I need a moment. Just practice that. I need a moment. And like I said, at work, at home, whatever, go somewhere. Have that 5-minute dance party. Have that moment of laugh. If you stand in a mirror, because I'm a laughter yoga leader, if you stand in the mirror and start laughing at yourself, you're going to continue to laugh. Sing. Go in the shower and sing. Meditate. Run up and down some stairs. Take that moment to kind of reprogram yourself and uplift yourself to bring that joy in. Because that's what helps. And if you really need someone to talk to, there's people out there to talk to. You just got to reach out and say, hey, I'm experiencing this and I don't know how to move past it. But again, this has been such a great topic to talk about burnout. And I know we've all experienced burnout in life, but it's when we can recognize it and how to change our mindset around it and how to say, I'm going to be okay, but I need a moment. Or, hey, Sally Sue or Joey John, can you please help me and delegate some of the responsibility? Or, you know what? It's a hard no. Or say, you know what? I need to take this Saturday. If it's from your family, and say, you know what? I'm going to go Saturday and I'm going to go do something for myself and spend the day with yourself. There is nothing wrong with that. So I challenge you to see where in your life do you feel that you need to take a moment to breathe, to pause, to delegate. And I challenge you to do that for yourself. So tonight has been a great show all about burnout and how when you recognize in somebody else, ask, what can I do? Or just see it and step in and do. So thank you for joining me tonight on Emotional Elevator. I am Sandee Byrd. Of course, you can reach out to me at sandeebyrd.com. Sandee with those 2 E's, BYRD. And thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Emotional Elevator Show. Sandee returns Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, start elevating your emotions and stop riding the emotional elevator that is stopping you from living the life you deserve.